The Larry O'Connor Show podcast.
Right now, we're joined by Tom Fitton. Tom Fitton is the president of Judicial Watch. And Tom, first, let's start with the deep state, shall we? Because, boy, we're seeing a whole lot going on here. Your impression here of this leak, of this intel, this is all the same pattern, isn't it, this story?
Yeah, it presumes improper collusion with the Russians against American interests. Of course, it's a partial leak of classified information, the dissemination of which is contrary to national security and puts American lives in danger.
Yep.
So it's par for the course from the deep state.
And we certainly learned quite a bit about how the deep state ran during the latter days of the Obama administration, now that we've learned so much more about the General Mike Flynn investigation. And at this point, is it fair to say that it really was all about Barack Obama, at least with regard to Mike Flynn? It was about Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden at the time directing this investigation into him and the setup of Mike Flynn right there from the Oval Office.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear if Judge Sullivan had allowed this abusive trial of General Flynn to go forward, President Obama could have been on the witness stand. He was behind it all. It's pretty clear. The notes suggest that Obama, and Susan Rice's memo suggests that Obama, Sally Yates, the Deputy Attorney General, acting Attorney General for Trump for a few weeks, suggest Obama was behind it all, was pushing Comey to go after Flynn, go after President Trump. As I say, he put them in place like a wind-up toy and directed them at at Trump and Flynn, the FBI and Comey.
At this point, should the Senate Judiciary Committee call former President Barack Obama in so he can testify under oath about this whole thing?
Certainly, that's a good question. Durham should be questioning him. Anyone wanting to get to the bottom of Obamagate has to question Obama. And, of course, Joe Biden now is further implicated. He was at that infamous Oval Office meeting, and it looks, based on these notes by Peter Strzok, who was an anti-Trumper, that he had raised specifically the issue of the Logan Act, which was pretextual garbage to go after Flynn.
And Tom Fitton, your great team over at Judicial Watch has uncovered even more about Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. This did not get a lot of coverage, of course, from the mainstream media, but his relationship with certain factions in China was much deeper than we've ever been told.
Yeah, I didn't know he had gone to China 5 times. Did you, Larry?
Not at all. All I've heard about was that one trip he took with Joe Biden when he was vice president on Air Force Two. But I had no idea that 5 times to China. That's something.
Yeah, we don't know how he got there. We know at least one of the trips was on Air Force Two, but we do know the Secret Service provided him protection on those 5 trips. And we had gotten records about Secret Service protection and Biden's travel, Hunter Biden's travel, 411 trips, 29 foreign countries, 5 trips to China. And by the way, this is only in the first 5 years or so of the Obama-Biden administration. You know what I thought was interesting? It's the dog that doesn't bark here. And that is that there was no trip to Ukraine, at least on these records, prior to Biden getting hired by one of the biggest companies in Ukraine, Burisma.
I was just about to raise that.
Very, very curious.
We don't know that he didn't go to Ukraine and he got a job there, what appears to be sort of a do-nothing job other than to just stand there and have your last name be Biden. And that was to the tune of over $80,000 a month. Imagine what he got paid by Chinese interests when he went there 5 times.
Well, we do know he got a special concession worth at least $1.5 billion. I don't think that had been made available to any other Western company. So it's good to be a relative of the king's number 2, Joe Biden.
And Senator Ron Johnson is still exploring this, right? He has an active investigation through his committee, does he not?
Yes, he is supposedly investigating this. We have about 7 FOIA, Freedom of Information Act lawsuits trying to figure out what's been going on with Ukraine, China, and Hunter and Joe Biden. By the way, the president of the United States was impeached a few months ago because he asked questions about these scandals, and now we're supposed to forget him.
Right.
We're not going to forget him.
No. We sure shouldn't. And listen, if you are frustrated that not one person, not Obama, not Biden, not Susan Rice, not John Kerry, not James Comey, not John Brennan, not Andrew McCabe, not James Clapper, none of them have faced any kind of real legal crisis because of what they did, you need to give and donate to Judicial Watch, because Tom Fitton and his group, you're holding their feet to the fire as much as you can. I mean, you can't bring them up on criminal wrongdoing, but you keep shedding light on these things, Tom. And I got to ask you, where's the Senate? Where's the Republican-led Senate doing what you're doing at Judicial Watch?
Well, they're only doing it because we're doing it. To the degree they're doing anything. Look, there's been significant public pressure on the Senate, because it's the only one controlled by people who pretend to be interested in this, to do a serious investigation. And it's the only reason they're doing it. It's an election year. Thank God for election years. Otherwise, nothing would be done.
Yeah.
And it's the pressure of the American people. It's following our lead, Judicial Watch's lead. You've got other intrepid journalists like John Solomon trying to figure out what's going on here. Rudy Giuliani doing it for nothing as well, getting attacked and prosecuted for doing it or investigated for doing it. Mm-hmm. Let's put it this way. They were trying to remove a president improperly to cover up what's behind this. I think we're going to take a look.
Yeah. And it raises the stakes even more, because if Joe Biden were to win the presidency this November, everything disappears with regard to Durham, with regard to anything at the Justice Department, right?
Well, yeah. But on the other hand, Judicial Watch won't disappear, so it may be more difficult to get the records. But the scandal isn't going away no matter who wins in November.
Finally, I know you keep a sharp eye on the Supreme Court as well, Tom, and I just wonder your impression of Chief Justice John Roberts' rationale behind his decision today. It's disturbing, to say the least, considering who we thought John Roberts was during his nomination process.
Yeah, well, he says precedent was the guide here in upholding really an outrageous act by the abortion industry to come in and say that regulations of the abortion industry are unconstitutional, not because they hurt the abortion industry, but because they hurt someone else, meaning supposedly women who would be protected by regulations of the abortion industry.
Right.
So, that's a pretty convoluted legal argument, but it was bought by Chief Justice Roberts, who previously had opposed similar regulation or a similar case where the court had overturned regulations like this.
Right.
Look, he had promised to be an umpire, and instead he's in the dugout banging on garbage cans in too many cases. And in this case, it would have been a shock to the system in terms of undermining Roe versus Wade. He probably saw, and he was unwilling to do that for political reasons. So right now, but the abortion industry gets a veto power over any regulations of the abortion industry, thanks to the Supreme Court, effectively.
Right. Tom Fitton with the Houston Astros reference. Well done, sir. I saw right what you did there, and it was beautiful. Thanks for joining us, Tom.
You're welcome. Thank you, Larry.
Thanks for listening to the Larry O'Connor Show podcast from 105.9 FM and AM 630, Washington's Mall, WMAL. Listen weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. for the latest, and download more free original content daily from WMAL.com.